My wonderful listeners, welcome back to the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. This is episode 103, and this episode is a really good one. I gotta say, I was actually really waiting for this one for one reason. This time I'm gonna sit down with one of my colleagues, a great teacher, and I consider a really good friend. He is Preston Blake Caudle. So he's a teacher who's been working in China for almost 9 years, and his perspective on education might be changed a little bit from the perspective that it was already learned back in the West, let's say from the US. So this episode is so good, interactive, and really funny as well. This episode, we made it into two parts. So, episode 103, part 1, and 104, part 2. Without further ado, I bring you the topic. The title of this great episode: Breaking the Mold, a conversation with Preston on teaching and learning languages in China. Part 1. So, get your favorite drink, sit down, and let's enjoy this wonderful episode. Let's get started. Preston, for being here.
It's my pleasure.
It's really cool to have you. I know I've been telling you this a couple of times, but I really actually see you as a really good teacher, as a great teacher, and I always try to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're not just a teacher that I met in the road,
Right, I know what you mean by it.
but I think you're mean a lot in the teaching environment.
Yes.
So please, would you like to introduce a little bit about you? And
Yeah, of course. So my name is Preston Blake Caudle. I usually just go by Preston with my peers. I've been teaching English in China for going on 9 years now, and it's been a wild ride. And as a teacher, as an instructor, I feel I'm not just a teacher, and Mike, I think you can agree, we're not teachers. We're actually life coaches. And I like to go on that journey, and I've learned so much in 9 years, and I look forward to what lies ahead.
yeah, I know. It's been 9 years in China. 9 years in China. Previously, what was your experience in the US, right?
Yeah,
You were teaching there.
I was, briefly.
Now, if you actually have to compare the US and the Chinese system in language learning,
Oh, yeah.
what would you say?
Oh, it's night and day. Yeah, it's night and day. I think most people will agree with me that when you work and as an educator in the West, in a country like the United States of America, we're known for our freedom, we're known for our democracy, our democratic values. Oh, it's so much different. I think teachers, just the job in general, is seen differently in the West as it is in the East. So, for example, when I was in the States and I was teaching high school, teachers were disrespected by default. It's almost like you were in a gang and you had to earn respect from your students. And then I come to the East, and I remember some of my first days teaching here in Huhalt. And I would be walking up the stairs, and the students would greet me. They would say, 老师好, and hold their hand up, and just like to acknowledge me. I'm like, It was almost like, I don't want to say it's like you're a god. You're just like, you're some sort of authority figure.
Yeah.
Even when you walk into a Chinese classroom, they have a platform for you. You stand on that platform almost to create this visage, this idea that you're above.
The teacher is above.
The teacher's above everyone, and you don't get that in the States.
Right?
Let me make that clear. Yeah, you don't get that feeling.
Definitely, you don't get it at all.
Mhm.
I mean, it's totally different, the system here, and I agree actually with you in that sense. Totally different. And so, what do you think about what's the perspective on learning languages in China? What do you think about it? Do people really want to learn languages here, or is it just that part of the subject or something like it?
I think for China, education is, I think I've said it best in the past, it's almost like when it comes to retaining information or learning it, they want you to be a calculator. So a lot of language learning here is almost memorized, and you learn it for reasons that are a little bit more necessary than in the States. In the States, when we try to learn a foreign language, it's not because we're probably going to actually use it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a requirement, you could say, especially when you're in like middle school, high school grades. Unless you have plans to actually utilize it, travel abroad, there's this natural American patriotism that, well, I'm already in the greatest country in the world. I don't need to learn another language.
Exactly.
I'm going to stay right here. Why would I want to go anywhere else? But whereas in China, they understand that English is pretty much the international language. It's necessary. It's mandatory. You have to learn English. So there's kind of this economy with English as a language here, where you have to learn it no matter what. Scattered throughout China over the years, they have training schools. They have specialty colleges that are programmed just to teach kids of all ages to learn English, and it's a bigger deal. It's almost monopolized in a way how important it is to learn English here as opposed to the States. Now, when it comes to actually learning it, even that approach is way different. Like I just told you, it's about memorization, it's about dictation, and I just feel in the States, we're very against that. We're more creativity. We like
critical thinking. Yeah. We go to that side, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, rote and memorization, which is called, right? Yeah. So you have actually a hard time with that, right?
It's been a challenge. It's been one of many challenges working here, because when you're used to your whole life growing up in the States, and you're taught these doctrines, you're taught these basic tenets of learning that, you should be creative. You should invite critical thinking in the class. Then you come to the Far East, and all that is thrown out the window, and it's just about say this word over and over, say this sentence over and over, repeat. How are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. And you? And repeat. It's almost robotic. It's almost, dare I say, militant. The way they teach here.
Exactly. That's the point. That's a big difference. That's why I actually asked you the question, because we gotta warm up here before getting to the main topic. But it's part of it. In China, the situation is totally different than what happens in the West. I'm not gonna say just the States, but the West. Critical thinking is actually something that is mostly used when learning languages, when teaching languages. But here it's totally different. It's just about look at the word. Keep it there, and that's it.
Retained response.
That's it. No more.
Question, answer, response.
That's it. Yeah. Eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. Yeah. That's like a vicious circle there. Cycle there. That it's coming.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's coming actually pretty hard in that sense. Now, let's start with a little bit of the topic. Today, I wanted to talk because this is actually part of the 100th episode. And I'm really glad you're here, because I don't know any other teacher who can tell me more about music or more creative work in the classroom than you.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I really appreciate that.
So it's true. So to start with this, what type of music do you like? What genre do you like?
Yeah, well, you know what? People ask me that, and I've narrowed it down to this answer. And some people may not like it. What kind of music do I like? It depends on my mood. Right? And the reason I have to say that,
here I go.
And the reason I have to say that is because, I am an avid rap and hip hop fan. Does that mean I want to listen to it right now? Maybe not. Okay,
of course.
Maybe I want to listen to some bluegrass, or maybe I want to listen to some country music, or hell, let's listen to some heavy metal. Metallica, one. So it depends on my mood. But to give you a more straightforward answer, I listen to a little bit of everything.
All right.
I like
that's a very straight answer.
Yeah, I love hip hop and rap.
It's true.
And sometimes I like alternative rock. I do actually like country music. I do. I like the older country music from the 80s and 90s, preferably.
Cool. No. Yeah.
But when it comes to modern music, I guess I'm an old head, and I think this is just a part of life. When you grow up and the new generations start to take over, you start to feel infected by the newness and the changes.
And the changes.
So you kind of just retreat to what you...
Or you're just rejecting the new things.
And reject the new. Yeah, because in 5 years, Mike, I'm going to be 40 years old. And while that might not be old to anybody, I'm still at that age where now I'm not part of that generation who's consuming all the new content, the modern content. We're past that now. I'm a millennial. You're a millennial as well. Gen Z, people born after 1995 until around 2010 or so, even they're not that young anymore. Some of them are turning 30s.
Exactly.
So now who's taking over? Generation Alpha. And I just feel when it comes to the music industry, it's quasi been dominated by some Gen Zs
Yes.
and oncoming generation alphas, and because I can't look up to them as artists, I naturally feel the need to reject it, like the word
exactly.
you used. So now, when it comes to music and music genres, whether I'm listening to rap or I'm listening to R&B or I'm listening to even something like techno or house music, you know,
that's it.
Yeah, it's not. I feel deeply. This is just how I feel. That it's not so much about if it's good or not. All right, it's how it makes us feel. A lot of songs that we like, a lot of movies, TV shows, you name it, we're reminded of how it used to make us feel, and that's why we like it.
Yeah.
And you used a word with me not too long ago when you texted me. You said nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Yeah.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. It is.
Oh yeah.
And it can shape who we are. It can shape
it's
our
also
tastes.
part of it. Yeah, very good.
And music's no different.
It's true. It's true. So well, you listen to a little bit of everything. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good answer there. And the next one is, now that we're talking about music, because I know you a bit, and that's why I want to go to the following question.
Yeah.
Where does your creativity comes from?
Yeah.
Your creativity.
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
You know what?
Your mom, your dad. You built it up. You saw someone else.
I feel after 35 years on this planet that I could not simply say my creativity comes from one place. Now, hereditary speaking, does it come from my mom or my dad? I'm going to say my mom, because she used to win art contests as a child. You know, my father, his job is he works in the medical field. You know, he works with medicinals, vaccinations.
Yeah, totally different.
So I would hazard to guess my mom, but there's more to it than that. Another reason I'm curious, Mike, is because when you talk about, where did my creativity come from? It just comes from my hunger to create, my desire to create.
True.
And because I like to create, naturally, you're creative, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, a person who creates is creative.
It's a creative,
right?
yeah.
So it comes, it comes down to even when I was a little kid in first grade. You know, when I was living in Texas, I went to a special school.
All right.
It was a primary school. It was an elementary school called Fort Bliss. It was on a military base.
Oh, and, very special school there.
Oh yeah, they're very patriotic. Every morning we had to do the national anthem, and we had to say I pledge allegiance every morning because it was
to pledge allegiance every day.
Oh yeah, it was big because it was an army base.
Yeah,
my father was in the army, my mother was in the army, so I kind of got taught at a young age patriotism. But along the side of that, I still had my creative side.
Yeah.
I remember in first grade, I was already writing stories and drawing books about frogs and ants. And it was, you could already see it was there, you know. So I'm not actually surprised. All the things you've seen me do as a colleague, all the creative things you see me do at schools and for the children and for the students, it's no surprise. I feel it was with me from the beginning. And that's why I have to owe it to my mom, but also owe it to my curiosity to create.
Part of it, yeah. Well, that's a pretty good answer there. Again, you know, this is one of the things, you know, I asked you two questions, one related to music and the other one related to your creativity.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because I've actually seen you using both in such a way that I don't actually see it using it in most teachers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, just licking your ass and saying, hey, you know, you're the top over here, there's nobody else better than you or something like that. But I gotta go pretty straightforward and say,
I don't mind it, by the way.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't see actually too many teachers using the creativity, the level of creativity that you show in the classroom, plus what you show in another type of level of classroom.
Right.
You started in the kindergarten here. I saw you in the kindergarten. I can see actually what you were doing. Hands-ons are really easy for you. I think.
Yeah.
All these type of things, you know, cutting, drawing, painting, making watches for the kids out of cartons or whatever. I mean, it's
keychains,
it's
bookmarks.
It's unbelievable. I
still have the photos.
I still have the pictures as well.
You do? Good, great. I like that.
So I'm gonna actually post in here because I would like people to see it. That's the level of creativity that should be actually done in the classroom, especially with this level of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is something that this is the big issue here, because if you're actually in the States or any other Western country, you will be seen as a person who really does the job.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But if you actually compare it to what happens here in China, it's like, okay, what is that for?
Why are you wasting time?
Why are you wasting?
Yeah, someone told me that.
So
are you bored? Why are you making? It was frowned upon.
Yeah.
To be creative, even drawing a little picture of my lesson plan. Like, why are you wasting time drawing?
Exactly.
Just write what you taught. It's just because I want.
So you want to actually give the students that feeling of there's something new in the class. What is the teacher bringing today? You know, this is what teacher brought. Oh, cool, a watch or whatever, bookmark, whatever.
Just to bring some excitement,
really cool, right? Yeah, excitement. Exactly. That's the word.
Yeah, not just everyday walk in. All right, guys, say this word on this flashcard repeatedly. All right, everybody, let's sing this song that we sang a bunch of times. All right, everybody, let's repeat this sentence. Okay, here's A, B, but grammar time. You know, it's when you make something a routine. Well, it becomes exactly that, a routine. The students aren't interested in learning, and they sure as hell don't want to learn English, a foreign language I've never even heard of. A lot of these students don't even speak Chinese by the time I get to them.
True.
But that's why it kind of became that, Mike. I wasn't always that kind of teacher when I first came to the kindergarten. And you know how it is with a new job. You take less risks when you first start a job. You don't want to step on any toes. You try to follow. Then after a year, so you get comfortable and you start taking chances. Yeah. Oh, I was able to do that. Okay, maybe I can do this. And, you know, and that's just human nature.
Learning process.
Yeah, learning process. And that's what happened with me. You think I always made keychains? You think when I first started, I was making the bookmarks? Absolutely not. I was trying to teach the book. I was trying to sing the songs they wanted. The book is God. Remember that? Yeah, so.
And this episode is sponsored by Broad Club Languages at MikeEnglishOnline.com, where learning has no limits. Are you ready to take your language skills, teaching career, or professional growth to the next level? Whether you're looking to master a new language, prepare for international exams, or enhance your teaching expertise, Broad Club Languages is here to help. At MikeEnglishOnline.com, we offer language learning for all levels and ages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and more. English for specific purposes: business, academic, travel, and professional communication. International exams preparation: IELTS, TOEFL, CEFR, and beyond. But that's not all. If you're an educator, trainer, or aspiring teacher, we also provide workshops and seminars on pedagogy, educational psychology, motivation, classroom strategies, and innovative teaching techniques. Teacher training programs to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of education. Expert insights on language acquisition, student engagement, and modern teaching methodologies. At Broad Club Languages, we don't just teach, we empower, inspire, and transform. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or a professional, we help you unlock opportunities, confidence, and success. Visit MikeEnglishOnline.com today and start your journey toward mastery, because learning is a lifelong adventure, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Ready to level up? Click the link in the description and join Broad Club Languages today.
It's just something that kind of happened over time. And even by the time you started at the kindergarten around 2023, around that time, I was starting to get into my creative flow. And then that's when I was starting to make the craft activities. It's a craft activity. And just like the Chinese teachers would do with the students, they would play with a little Play-Doh and they would take paper plates and make art. That's what I was doing with them. We don't have to speak English every class. We don't have to do grammar all the time. We don't always have to sing Backstreet Boys, you know, every now and then. I didn't get that reference.
You got it.
Just every now and then surprise them.
Yeah.
Every now and then mix it up.
Yeah.
I even told you everything down to me rolling in the dry erase board. I made sure to only do that maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Because if I did it every day, I felt the students would see that dry erase board roll into the class and automatically think, oh, it's time to learn English. You know, it would be like a Pavlov's dog situation where they looked at the whiteboard as English time, you know?
English time.
And I didn't want them to feel that way.
Yeah, that's why I actually been asking you these two questions. Now we started with creativity and all the things that you can do with your hands, hands-on. So this is one of the things that I actually really like about teachers who dare to teach kindergartners, because that's a different level than teaching big kids.
Yeah.
Like, let's say college.
Yeah, totally.
Teenagers is a different story. But in a kindergarten, that now that you got the opportunity to evolve as a teacher, to see how much you can actually do for them. What's your perspective on that? Like on what you can do, plus the reaction, not only from the kids, but from the teaching community, from the teachers.
So after so many years in China, maybe a few years before, if you asked me that question, I would say, oh, teaching kindergarten and teaching college students is totally different. They're much older and much experienced. But for kindergartners, I have to be more interesting and colorful, sing songs and nursery. That's what I would say a few years ago. But now, what I would tell you is human beings are still human beings. And human beings still have their habits. They have things they like and they don't like. And Mike, let me tell you something, and you probably know this more than me, regardless of age, they like those things.
Yes.
You know? So you may think, oh, toys, candy, animals, and cartoons. Kids like this. College students, they don't like that stuff. College students like X, Y, and Z. And, all right, yes, those are basic truths that we all agree upon. However, humans, regardless if it's a child, regardless if it's an old 100-year-old man, there are different types of stimuli that remain consistent.
Yeah.
You know, like the object of surprise.
Yeah.
You know, the element of wonder.
Yeah.
You know, suspense.
Well,
mystery.
Exactly.
You know? These elements, it don't matter if I'm doing it for kindergarten, it don't matter if I'm doing it for college. I still can hold their attention if I use these elements, these agents. And that's what I tried to do when I left the kindergarten last year. I wanted to translate that to the college. Now, of course, I can't walk into a college class with snakes and throw at people. That would be weird.
Watches and all that.
Yeah, watches. No. So how do I translate that
exactly? That's
to the college level? And I've shown you. I have new PowerPoint lessons that enact those principles. I do give them mystery of my lessons. I do show them shocking things. And I like to use something that's very simple.
Beyond shocking, I would say.
Yeah, beyond shocking. Well, then it goes to what I want to say to you.
Yeah.
I like to enlist emotion.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Emotion.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't think I was going to talk about this. Maybe you don't think it's related to teaching and, you know, whether it's kindergartners or college students, but I want to talk about wrestling a little because, while it may seem irrelevant, maybe it's not related to this topic, it is. Because
how do you do that?
All right, because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Shawn Michaels, he said once, people asked him, how are you so good at performing? Like, you're one of the greatest performers, but we can't really pinpoint what makes you good at it.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels himself said, I just try to be emotional. When I get hurt, I show pain. When I win, I show happiness.
Yeah.
And when audience members watch him performing, they feel it. They
Yeah.
believe it. And that's what's very important. That's a core truth with anything you do. Because while Shawn Michaels is a wrestler, ex-wrestler, and I'm a teacher, you would say, oh, those are totally different jobs.
Yeah.
Are they? We're still performing, if you think about it. As teachers, we're performing. As teachers, we are, to an extent, actors. So I try to channel that. I try to channel emotion because everyone knows emotion. That's a universal language. Doesn't matter if it's babies. Doesn't matter if it's college students. Everyone knows sadness, happiness, grief, anger, shock.
Definitely.
So those are agents that I try to channel.
And that's what you're attracting, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you're using in the classroom. So you can get the people's attention, the students' attention, babies' attention, and all that. Exactly. So in the question, I actually ask you also about the teachers. What do you think? What's teachers' reactions when they see you doing all this stuff?
I want to say it's mixed, but I think it's generally positive. You know, I think people are opening up more to it. Now, I'll say that maybe if I had done this 10, 15 years ago when coming to China, it would have been frowned upon. We're talking about a country that maybe no more than 30 years ago, being creative was a bad thing. It was looked down upon. It was discouraged. And in some ways it kind of is still to this day. It's getting better, but generally positive. You know, I remember a lot of the kindergarten Chinese teachers, they would praise me and say, oh, wow, that was a nice show. Even the kindergarten teachers, they get involved. They get absorbed into the lesson, you know.
Yeah, I saw them actually just getting very excited when you used to get these watches or
yeah.
They all look like, oh, I want it.
Yeah, I gave one to some of them.
Even this teacher, what's her name? Mandy.
Yeah, Mandy. Yeah.
She was really into this. She didn't even know actually how to look at the table because she wanted to get one of them.
There's so much to look at, like feast your eyes.
Yeah. Even they get this type of a spark, like they're still kids, like you say.
Yes,
inside,
exactly.
They still have feelings there.
I'm glad you brought that up. You said they're still kids. That's what I meant to say initially after your last question. I was going to say we're all kids at first.
Yeah.
We have to be a kid first before you become an adult. And a lot of things like the nostalgia I mentioned, those still carry over to adulthood and throughout life.
Exactly.
I still remember the cartoons and movies and TV shows and characters. I still like Power Rangers. So, and I'm
not going any farther. You just brought WWE.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our childhood.
Yeah, it is.
It is what it is, and it is. It's nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Power Rangers, and you see. I remember the dagger. Yeah, the dagger.
I wish I would have brought it today.
Oh, that would have been good.
Would have been a nice piece.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm. Maybe next time.
Why not? And they can't hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say hello.
So, yes, we have these type of situations, when teachers are pretty happy with one way of teaching, but then they don't want to actually challenge themselves and go to another way of teaching.
Yeah.
And this is the part when I say, yes, you're doing a really good job there because you're showing not only to the kids,
yes,
but if you see it into perspective, you're just showing the rest that a teacher can just not do one style, can do this other style, and can do it like this.
Rewrite the book,
exactly.
Set a new mold,
Even though actually we know that teaching is not something like we're discovering every day. It's something new. It's not something new. It's something old. It's the new old or old new or something like it. It's like a transition between it. But anyway, that's the thing that I was actually thinking. That's why I wanted to bring you here because I know you got really good perspective on that, and I can actually talk to you about this. Now that we just talked about the kindergarten a little bit, let's make the transition to college.
All right. Yeah.
Because right now you're in college. And after having this experience with the kids, have you actually shown or taken this part to college?
Yeah.
How the kids or how the teenagers they react to it?
Yeah.
Young adults.
Yeah. Well, young adults, adolescents. As I said before, I've tried translating some of my habits and my routine to the college, and I think I've had some success. I talked about emotion, and so how I've been able to do that is in some of my lessons. I add mystery. When I was at the kindergarten, I would pretend to have something in my hand.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it? What is it? And then I go to the student, I open it, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But I made you believe that, maybe there's something in there.
Yeah.
But what was important to that gag is sometimes I would have something. Sometimes I would not. And I like that element of mystery. Does he have something here today or not? And so things like that. How do I do it in the college? Well, I show them a picture.
Yeah.
I show them a picture, but the picture is not what they think it is. I'll show them a before and after photo. Yeah. And even one lesson I had where I was showing some before and after pictures of people who look really cool and awesome, but they don't look like that anymore. Oh. A good example is, and I have to go back to wrestling again, is a guy named Tyler Rex. He used to wrestle for the WWE for maybe 1 or 2 years. Big muscle-bound guy, long dreadlocks. This guy was cool. Yeah. Like, he was an alpha male.
He was the beast.
He was. And I showed people, the college students, this photo. I'm like, you see this guy? Yeah, he's cool. He's a man. Do you want to see how he looks now? And then I unveil the photo next to it. He got a sex change. She's a woman now. Whoa. Yeah, and you can look it up. Tyler Rex, you see how he looks now. Whoa. It's very shocking. But yeah, stuff like that. That's a nice surprise. That's enough. Oh, I threw a snake into the crowd. But for college, that's my snake that I threw into the crowd. Do you see?
And that actually triggers a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
Or a lot of curiosity there from students.
Yeah.
Especially the students here. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have a lot of questions.
Why?
Do they dare to ask you questions like about that?
Usually no. People are very modest here. College students, they don't. It depends on the class, but in general, students are generally modest, quiet, almost meek. I know that's kind of a negative word.
Yeah.
But what I mean by meek is just they don't have a say. And I guess because it's the American upbringing that I have, where we're just so outspoken, people, they have to say what's on their mind. It's the opposite in China. It's the opposite, no comments, no murmurs, just they do react, but then just kind of ends. All right, what do you guys think about that? Dead silence. Nobody says anything, so I move on to the next. And as a teacher, you kind of have to. You don't know what's going to work. You don't know how the students are going to react to stuff.
And that's the planning.
There's stuff that I plan to say. I don't think they're going to laugh, but they laugh. Yeah. And there's stuff that was supposed to be a joke. No one laughs. No reaction. And laughing it's social. It's even if you don't think something's funny. If everyone around you laugh, you want to laugh too. So it may be some of that too. But no, I think that's a great question. Like, how am I going to? What really is the difference? Using my act in the kindergarten and using it in the college. What I'm using, concretely speaking, changes. PowerPoint to snakes, but the message and the reasoning and the intent is still the same.
It's still the same. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the reasoning and that's the pragmatic way to see it. Mm. But now let's go to your feeling now.
Yeah.
What's your feeling when you see the kids reacting to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because the kids, they don't have that problem here.
Yeah.
They actually react, they scream, or they do something, they ask you, or they start touching or whatever.
Yeah.
But then
physical.
You go actually to college, and then suddenly you do exactly the same thing, but of course to their level, to their age.
Yeah.
And no feeling, no talking, no nothing. What's your feeling there?
My feeling is redirect, adjust, adapt. I may not always get the reaction I want or desired reaction, and that's okay. Because I know everything's not going to hit. Mm-hmm. This is not foreign to me. Even when I was at the kindergarten, sometimes the kids don't react to stuff the way I thought. There's a song I would teach for a class. I would teach Open Shut. I would teach Baby Shark. I would teach Old MacDonald Had a Farm. Whatever nursery.
Yeah.
And some classes would love it. They'd react. They'd get up, start dancing. But then I go to the next class and they're shy. No one's dancing, so no one's dancing. Same thing with the college. I have that one class. It's like the smart class, and I show them this photo or I show them this learning element, and they react. But then the next class is just dead quiet.
Exactly.
So redirect, adjust, adapt, go to the next thing, see where you can get reaction.
So that brings us to the following part, because we're actually just putting two worlds that are totally different, because the age gap there is too broad.
Can't be a bigger age gap than that from literal babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, college age 18 and up.
Imagine. So your planning there must be adapted.
Yeah.
Because here to the little kids, you gotta actually plan something.
Yes.
But that things can change because the kids are volatile. They changes their feelings.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But then you go to the college. Do you do the same? Do you plan in the same way, having in mind that the kids might react, or the young adults might react differently?
Well, this is actually different because the presentation of kindergarten students and college students is very different, and this is where I guess we kind of hit a fork in the road when it comes to differences. I know I've been trying to blend them together over this interview, but when it comes to that aspect, it is different. These kindergarten kids, they're younger, they tend to have lower attention spans, and they need something to give them stimuli. But ironically, it's the same with the college. They have low attention spans. They can't help but look down at their phones. That's a new problem. So every level has its own challenge. Yeah. And as I've said before,
But there are common grounds.
Yeah, there are common grounds, just differently.
Yeah.
It's just like the snake, but then also have the funny picture here.
Yeah.
So what's the common ground in this case? Well, look at the attention spans. Kids just naturally have low attention spans. They want to run around, they want to play. Minutes. If that, sometimes. I hope that's good. I'll take that.
Yeah.
But then you have a new problem with the college students. It's their phones. They just can't help but look down at those phones. And it's gotten so bad that some college teachers tell them they can't have phones in class. They need to put them on the desk. Just so there's no distraction. How are you supposed to get their attention when you're constantly combating their phones and with kids constantly fighting their attention spans?
I'm really glad you made it. Thank you very much for listening to this great episode. Really enjoyable, easy episode to everyone. And if you really enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about this episode. What's your idea? I really hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to follow us on our platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Also, pay a visit to our website, mikeenglishonline.com. And just want to invite you from now, get ready for part 2. If you really like this part 2, you will love it as well. This is the essence of being a teacher, to be able to talk, share ideas, tell from the beginning what's your perspective on teaching, education, learning, without any taboos. So I really hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll keep the conversation going in the next part.